Oh, yeah.
I think these two are.
Yes, well, I am Dr. Travis Langley. I write on the psychology of superheroes. I've got a book on the psychology of Batman coming out later this month.
He needs a lot more work than I do.
Well, my publisher says I can do one in about 3 years when they do a sequel to the current Superman movie.
Yeah, apparently you're going to need it because, yeah, it's maybe a little darker, as they say.
But this fellow is Superman, is a superhero. So who were your heroes growing up?
You know, my heroes, I enjoyed comics when I was a kid, but I wasn't, you know, a comic geek. I didn't go in there and have tons and tons of comic books and things. I enjoyed them, but my heroes were more like, it seems strange now, but back in 1976 when I was 10 years old, Bruce Jenner won the Olympics, the Olympic decathlon. He was a big hero of mine then. And I wanted to be a decathlete. And it was mostly athletes that I really, I really identified with athletes. And I ended up being a professional football player, so it was something that was really close to me. But I was teased as being Superman when I was a kid, so it was kind of apropos.
Actually, a number of people who've played heroes have told me sports heroes are very important to them. Do you think that figures into their heroics of the part, or just being physically fit? I mean, how does that affect your role?
Well, I think when you're an athlete and you're competing in a team sport, especially, I love team sports. Individual sports are more difficult, really, but it's more solitary, and I like the aspect of teamwork. And when you end up playing a sport like football or something like that, you're in battle. You know, you're in battle, and so heroic things happen. So you understand sort of that psychology, if you will. You know, when your back's against the wall, somebody's got to step up. You know what that feeling is. You know maybe you're going to do something more than even you think is capable, and it happens. And so that for me, you know, that sports aspect, I think certainly translates to heroes.
And when you were trying out for this part, was it just any other audition, or did you really get to wanting it?
When I first went for this role, the auditioning process is interesting, and it's changed over time. But I went in, and I was the first actor that the producers had seen. They had seen no other actors yet. And I came in, and there was a room with 3 or 4 people in it. And I came in, and I said, you know, I was very comfortable. I don't know why, because sometimes you get nervous and uncomfortable in these auditions. But I was just very comfortable with the material, and I said, I read it the night before. I said, I read this last night, and I think I might have a little different take on it than anybody else. And the producer guy's name is Robert Butler, and he was responsible for creating shows like Hill Street Blues, and he's a really well-known director, producer, who's a show starter. Like anything he starts, it tends to be a series. And so I said, I got a little different take on this. And he goes, well, let's just see what you got. And so he read the stuff. And he said, thank you very much. And I said, okay, thanks. Bye. And you normally hear something within a day or two, or even that week. I heard nothing. So I figured, okay, that one's another one that's just gone. And then it was maybe 3 weeks later, I was at a party with people, his friends and stuff, but it was a lot of people I didn't know. And this one girl was a casting girl, and she goes, hey, you know, they're really high on you for that Superman thing. And I was like, what? That was 3 weeks ago. That's already over. And so she said, no, they're really high on you. They really liked what you did. And you were the first person who came in, but they still like you. So then it started in earnest. After that, then they started bringing back. They probably brought in, you know, 6 or 7 different guys and 6 or 7 different girls. And then they also brought in sort of the name actors. I remember coming in on that round of auditions, and there was all these guys I recognized, and I was like, oh well. It was a good shot on it. And then it kept whittling down, and finally it came down to the network audition, and it was myself and some guy named Kevin Sorbo, and then there were about 4 Lois Lanes, or maybe there were 3 Lois Lanes that day, and then they paired us up and had us go and audition and do different things. And I had never really been to a network audition. It's a lot of pressure. But I felt like I did well. And there were 3 scenes to learn, 2 scenes really, and then 1 maybe. And I did the 2 scenes that I had to do, and I figured, okay, I got it. I did it. I'm good. And then they wanted to see the 3rd scene, so I was like, uh-oh, I messed something up, and I didn't know what was going on. And did the 3rd scene, and waited, and then I got a call the next morning because they had to tell me in a short period of time because there were other shows that actually I had a chance to do as well. So they had to tell me the next day, and they did, and I got it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Was it a fun show to work on? Because some shows look fun, but are actually very grueling.
It was terrible. No, it was, working on the show was fantastic. It was extremely grueling though, I mean, it really was. We would shoot, on average, I would leave my house, just on an average day, and we shot 5 days a week, 9.5 months a year. It would be an 18-hour day from the time I left to the time I got back. And your sleep pattern was completely mixed up because we'd start very early on Monday morning, and then we'd finish very, very early on Saturday morning when the night ran out. So all your night work was always towards the end of the week, and the daytime work was, exterior daytime work was at the beginning part of the week. So you'd lose a day of sleep, basically, throughout the whole thing, because you had to flip it around on the weekend, go from going to bed at 7:30 in the morning to getting up at 5. So it was just daunting physically, but it was so fun. The show was great. My co-stars were fantastic. The crew was amazing, because as hard as we worked, the crew was there before and after. And people don't really keep that in mind, when you start talking about the hours that we work, and they're terrible. They were really hard, but they can get out for a doctor's appointment. We couldn't. They got a different DP today because he's gonna get his teeth worked out. It's like, well,
And have a different Superman.
my teeth hurt, let him play Superman for the day. Yeah, so it didn't happen very often, but it was great. But I would say it was certainly really grueling. In fact, that's how we ended the show. We got picked up for a 5th season. It sort of ended on a cliffhanger in the 4th season. And
whose baby was that?
I don't know. I had been sort of pushing them. I wrote a couple of the episodes, and I'd sort of talked story with them, and I was hoping that what we were going to do, this was my hope, was that we would have this sort of baby situation happen, and I think what was, at least in my mind, they were going to have this baby be there. We'd start to raise this child, and we'd find it wasn't ours. We'd grow attached to it, and of course it's not ours, and we'll find out whose it is, and it would probably have to go back to whomever that was, and I'm sure that would break her heart and my heart, and then I would imagine that we'd have gone for having a child. What I was excited about was, okay, so after all that heartbreak and we decided to have a child, what are the rules? I don't know. So it was a really fun time for us. It was going to be. I thought that how do you create this pairing? What happens chemically? I don't know. He's from Krypton and whatever, and so on and so forth. So she could have been pregnant for 3 episodes and then had a child. Who knows what the time frame would have been? And then how soon would that kid grow up or go into adolescence? It could have been like another 3 episodes. There's no time frame, so we could have made a lot of rules, and it could have been a lot of fun. And then we could have spun it off into Smallville, and then we had New York at the same time. And I could have had a producing credit on that. That would have been great.
And you did appear on that show.
Of course, yeah. I did appear on Smallville in season 97. Those guys ran forever. Tom Welling has gray hair. I'm kidding, he doesn't. He's a big, tall guy. He's a good dude. He's great. He's just bigger than me, so. I appeared, Christopher Reeve set the tone. In fact, he set the tone for me as Superman as well. I modeled my Superman character after Christopher Reeve, and I thought he played that role fantastically. Now, the Clark Kent, he did a great job. I just didn't particularly love watching Clark Kent be the Mealy Mouse kind of guy and pretend to be the geek. I like the George Reeves version where he was more of a substantial guy. So I was happy that I got to sort of pair those two in my portrayal of the character. Tom Welling had a whole different experience. That what they did, they reinvented it, and it was great. Like I said, I should have had a producing credit for that. But when Christopher Reeve was on the show, and he did that, it set the tone. Pretty much anybody who had anything to do with the Superman lore should have been on the show, I think. I was happy and honored to have done it. Terry went on to do it as well. She did, right? Yeah. I heard she was gone, but I never saw the episode. So I think it's a great thing. There it is.
For about a minute.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Playing somebody's mother. See, that's what happens.
Somebody's dead mother. She's Lois Lane's dead mother.
Yes, it's video.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a one.
So she probably saw it shot in Los Angeles and they just sent it up there.
Yeah.
Terry.
But you have stayed busy ever since then, too.
Yeah, well, they say that one of the whole things that I was asked a lot was, this is going to be hard for you to play other roles, and you're not going to be able to get other things, and I've done like 100 movies since. Not all of them great, I'll be honest. But that's part of the deal, you know. I've always been a person who believes that work begets work, and I think that, you know, taking on roles of different sizes and different size films is, for me, I'm a worker. I'll go to work, and they say, why would you do that role in that film? It's because I'm an actor and I act. That's kind of it. And so I've done a lot of movies I'm very proud of. Some I'm actually proud of every film I've been in, but some of them haven't been as good as others. I've never felt pigeonholed having played the role, and it's certainly far enough away now that, you know, new generations of kids come in and they've never seen Lois and Clark. They've only heard that I've played Superman or something like that. In fact, I'm in Out of Time, when I got to play the bad guy opposite Denzel Washington. The director had heard that I played Superman, but had never met me before. I never saw the show. So he said, well, just bring the, you know, the guy who played in the NFL. He might be able to stand up opposite Denzel. So he just brought me in like that, which was great. And fortunately, I could. That was great.
How long did you do Ripley's Believe It or Not?
Ripley's Believe It or Not lasted 4 seasons. We did 88 hour-long episodes, and then we syndicated that, cut into half-hour episodes, so it was about 177 half-hour episodes. Now, I produced that. That one I did produce. And my company made that show, so I was able to control that a lot better than I could with Lois and Clark's schedule. So Lois and Clark's schedule worked out to 8 days a show, and we'd shoot, you know, about 18 hours a day, and it was grueling. Ripley's Believe It or Not, for me, was 8 days a year. Yes. And it was 4 pairs of 2 days, and I chose which days those were. It was also great. And it was a 10-hour day, then a 7-hour day, then a 10-hour day, and then a 7-hour day. So I did that 4 times a year, and got paid a lot more for that than I ever got for Lois and Clark. Honest to goodness truth. And still, because Warner Brothers hides their money very well. And you can quote me on that.
What's the most exciting thing you've got going on now?
Well, the most exciting thing for me outside of my career is the most exciting thing is my son. I'm a single father to a boy who's going to be 12 in about 2 weeks, and that's the greatest thing in the world for me. Career-wise, I am insanely busy now, partially because, well, for the last 11 years, I'm a single dad, and for the last, 12 years, I've had to balance being there, being a parent, and working. And there's times where I've missed things because I've had to work, but you need to work. So that's been the most difficult part. My son's getting older now, so I'm able to work more. So now suddenly I'm doing a lot more stuff. I have a show on Fox. I shot it in 1 day. It was not a big time commitment, called The Choice, which is a dating show, but not really a dating show. It's really a competition show. It's mindless, fun summer entertainment. That was a lot of fun. There's some other projects I have with Fox as well that we're in development with. So that was part of the condition of doing this show. They're like, "And you're going to do this show." I said, "Okay." How bad could it really be, right? It wasn't bad. But actually, it was went on a date with a pretty girl, so it worked out.
So, one more information. Y'all can start lining up at the microphone. A few of you might have questions.
But also, there's on the 16th of this month is a show called for Hallmark called Operation Cupcake, which is a very cute Hallmark movie. Christy Swanson, who's here, plays my wife in it. I'll tell you what, you know, she played Buffy, and that was great, and she's fantastic. But this girl is such a fantastic co-star, and would even days where she didn't have to work, she like cooked and brought stuff for the crew. I mean, like you're like, are you serious? I didn't even try to compete with that. By the way, I was like, okay, Christy takes the crown, she's the crown, and I'll just, you know, I'll be here hanging out with you guys, and we'll cheer for Christy because she was clearly like the greatest thing ever. So and the movie turned out real well. It's a very cute family film, and so on the 16th of June, if you catch that, that'd be good too. I see we have Darth Vader and Robin right there. Outstanding. What's happening, Darth?
What was your favorite episode of Lois and Clark you played in?
Well, I wrote a couple episodes, and I would like to say those were my favorite, but then I would be lying, and I won't do that. I really did enjoy those very much, but I think my favorite episode, when I look back on it, was maybe the proposal when he when Clark proposed to Lois, and it was sort of a cliffhanger at the end, and she says, "Who's asking, Clark or Superman?"
Best
So I think
line,
that was it.
best line in the whole series.
That was
Really was.
Yeah, I thought it was big.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Darth, for not choking me. Robin,
Robin, does Robin have a question?
you have a question, right, buddy? No?
He's really shy. He wants to know who's your best friend superhero.
My best friend. Well, it's not Batman, I'll tell you that. Right? You know what? You know how the Avengers got together now? They're all working as a team. Maybe DC will take a page out of the Marvel book and try to get some of their superheroes together. And hard to say. I used to watch Super Friends when I was a kid. And I always thought Aquaman was pretty cool. But, so I don't know. I don't know who Superman's best friend is. But right now, my best friend is Robin, okay?
Actually, I guess this size room, we can hear each other. Just a hand, somebody have a question.
I was actually wondering how hard it is to get into the mindset of Scott Peterson.
How hard to get into the mindset of Scott Peterson. Yeah.
It was creepy how well he did.
Scott Peterson, yeah, I played him in the, I forget what they called it, The Perfect Husband, which was an ironic title. You know, I actually turned that role down about 3 or 4 times, and they kept coming back to me. They kept paying me more each time, too. It was interesting. But I really didn't want to do it. I thought the role was good, and I thought that the film was well written, but I just was like, do I really want to be associated with this guy?
Yeah.
And it went on and went on and went on, and finally I was talking to my father, and he said, he's a director and filmmaker, and he said, I said, Dad, they keep offering me this Scott Peterson thing. You know who that guy is, Scott Peterson? He's like, yeah. He kind of looked like him. I was like, thanks, Dad. And he goes, well, you know, you're an actor, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, can you be good in it? And I said, yeah, I think I could actually be really good in it. And he said, that's your job, isn't it? And I said, yeah. He goes, then go to work. So I finally took it, and to play the mindset of him, you know what, really the mindset for me for playing Scott Peterson was, if you watch his interviews, he just was like a really bad actor. So it was really easy. It was simple. Just go be a bad actor. I was like, I do that every day. This is great. You have to be able to make fun of yourself in this business.
Such a creepy movie. I just remember going, that's the guy I grew up idolizing this TV. Turn off the TV.
Yeah, I lost a couple dates on that one.
I'm kneeling with the microphone, I guess you have one. Yes?
My brother Sean, who couldn't be here, wanted to know how did you enjoy your time on Vegas?
On Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That was one of the easiest sets in the world to go to work on. The cast was so good looking, it was ridiculous. The guys and the girls. And they were all so nice, it was amazing. So the guys, we had Josh Duhamel and we had James LeJour, fantastic, great guys, both of whom I played basketball with for years anyway, in a league that we play in, so I knew them both well. Jimmy Caan, I could just listen to James Caan tell stories about The Godfather or anything for hours. So that was fantastic. And then the girls were just, they were just gorgeous. I mean, I was like, this is what I get to go do every day, come here and hang out with these guys. And even the people that had this background, the extras, just this fantastic looking group. And then your co-stars would come on. I'm like, oh, well, this week we're doing something about, you know, the Arena Football League, so we have John Elway and John Bon Jovi coming on. I'm like, are you kidding? This is like the greatest thing ever. And that's after the Pussycat Doll dance? Great, okay. And that's what the show was like. I was like, this is amazing, and I get to be the owner. So that was a lot of fun. In fact, I was going to stay on the show, but the creator of that show, he created another show. And I went to work on the pilot of that, and we tried to, Gary Scott Thompson, we tried to get another show up on the air and, called Protect and Serve. It was a police officer thing. And we shot the pilot, but it didn't get picked up. So it was right on the bubble, but it didn't get picked up. And so I was killed by a giant squid. That's what they said.
I don't know if you're following or aware of what was going on in the comics these days, but there's been a trend towards erasing the marriages of superheroes. They erased Lois and Clark's marriage. I and I wonder, they say that they think it makes the character more relatable to younger readers if they're not married. I wonder what you think of that.
So first, I'm trying to remember, did you actually marry Lois, or was it just a frog-eating clone? Did you finally have the real thing?
The frog-eating clone. Yeah, where did that one come from? I took our exec producer and looked him in the eye, and I was like, took a little light, and I was like, "Are you all there?" Yeah, we got married on the show. As far as I knew, we were actually married. Unless episode, season 5, she'd awakened, and I'm like, oh, it was all a dream. It's one of the who knows. They like to keep the unrequited love is obviously a big theme, and it's tough for a superhero to find contented love. And then what do you do next? So I think it's just a way of keeping it alive. I don't think it has anything to do with being relatable to younger viewers or not. Because in that sense, you just create, another younger superhero. I mean, you can promote other things, I suppose. Maybe it's a way of keeping it fresh. I don't know, because they don't hire me to do that stuff. But if they had, I would have gone for something of keeping him married, possibly, and then creating another. But who knows?
Over here. Good one. All right. We all know acting. We know about your sports and everything else, but a lot of people don't know about your charity work. Being a triple threat as you are, choosing between Emmy or Oscar, Super Bowl, or Nobel Prize.
Wow.
What would you go for? I know it's rough.
Choose between Emmy or Oscar, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Ooh, I was close on
That's
that.
close, I told you.
I was really close on that. Or Nobel Peace Prize. I'd like to get them all. I'd really like to get all of the above. I'd even like to pare it down to Emmy or Oscar. I think it's fine. I'd take either one. But given the group, of course, I would have to take Nobel Peace Prize just because that's just the Nobel Prize it's a worldwide thing, and you really can affect a lot of people. But fortunately, in the world of entertainment, you can really affect people by the stories you tell. And I think that's a wonderful gift that we have as actors and writers and producers. So, but short answer would have to be Nobel.
I'll say it. Come on, you know you want to say
Super Bowl. I wanted a Super Bowl so bad. I played for the Buffalo Bills for one season and was injured as a rookie. I was a rookie with Thurman Thomas, and that year, my rookie year, I got injured and I was done. But we lost the AFC Championship that year. But in the next 4 years, we went to the Super Bowl, and we lost, then we lost, then we lost, and we lost. That was it. So I had a question one time from a reporter. He said, if you had stayed healthy and made the squad, and would after these 4 losses, would we have been okay? Would we have won one? And I said, as an athlete, you love to believe that you could have made a difference. You love to believe that, maybe I would have been out of position and done something wrong, and the ball would have bounced my way, and I would have done something great, and they could have turned the tide, and we'd have won. I mean, you love to believe that, so you love to believe you can make a difference. So, in Buffalo, this guy writes the headline, Cain thinks he could have brought a Super Bowl to Buffalo. I was like, what is I did not say that. It twisted my words. But, yeah, I could have gotten a Super Bowl for sure.
You love your charitable work. What charity work have you been involved with?
I do a ton of different charity work. My father had cancer a few years back, so I do a lot of things with cancer. I do anything I can, basically, to help kids. And I will do anything I can to help our men and women in uniform. I'm a huge supporter of our military, and I've been over to Iraq and visited the troops out there and thanked them for their service, and I thank them any place I go. And I'm hopefully doing this project with NBC. I'm actually doing the project with NBC. I'm hopefully involved. It starts Monday, actually, and it's a big thing dealing with the troops, and it'll air after the Olympics. It's a fantastic piece that I'm really proud to be a part of. But I travel the world and I get to see what it's like to live in countries that are not free, where you don't have the freedom of expression, you don't have the freedom of the press. It's amazing to be able to live here in the United States with the freedoms that we have, and so much of that is attributable to the rule of law, which we live under, and the men and women who can make that happen. So, law enforcement and the military, I just have great respect for them.
If you had choice, which actor or actress that recently had women work?
Ooh, wow.
Actor or actress that has passed?
Yeah.
What do you like to work with?
Recently or just in?
Well, in general.
You know, so hard to say. You know, which is amazing is a lot of actors and actresses that I have worked with have passed, and it's amazing to see them go. Gee, that's a tough question. Not something you think about every day, that's for sure. I would have really loved to have been able to work with Christopher Reeve, obviously. I would have loved to have met him. And when he was alive, I wish I had taken some real strong. I wish I had really had made a big point of trying to go and meet him. I wish I had done that. I wish I had that opportunity. It never came up, but I wish I had created that opportunity because pretty inspirational guy. You know, he'd say things like the Superman curse and things like that. When the reality is, you know, Kirk Allen, the first Superman, he died, you know, 90 something. Did just fine. George Reeve, obviously there were some issues going on there. Who knows how that went down and what that story was. But Christopher Reeve, they'd say it's a tragedy. It is tragic what happened to him, but it was also an incredible story of triumph. And I would argue that it was a much more inspirational story than it was a tragic story. So maybe it would have been Christopher Reeve.
Sure. Yeah. When you were acting as Superman or as Clark Kent, were you, which mindset did you go for? Did you go for Clark Kent as Superman or Superman acting as Clark Kent?
Definitely Clark Kent acting as Superman. That's a very good question, but yeah, there's no question. And that's opposite from the way it used to be. You know, Christopher Reeve played it really as Superman acting like Clark Kent, and we did the opposite. In fact, you know, the whole suit and everything in Lois and Clark, you know, his mom made it for him. She came up with it and designed this thing so you could go and still maintain your anonymity, but be able to do these great things with your powers. And that's the way it was. And in Christopher Reeve's version, the film version of Superman, he was Superman and just sort of masquerading as Clark Kent. And so we were the opposite.
Yellow shirt.
So my question is, what's the role that you regret that got away? Like a role you turned down that turned out to be amazing?
You know, that's a great question because you look back at history of some of the guys, and what happens is, and it happened more often before than it does now, because producers are more willing to help work it out for the actors. You things like, you know, Pierce Brosnan was, when he was doing Remington Steele, couldn't go play James Bond. And then you hear stories like, you know, Grease, the original Grease. You know who they offered Grease to first? It wasn't supposed to be John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. It was going to be Henry Winkler and Susan Day. Think about that one. Okay. I never really had a situation where that came up. I just knew that I was locked in with Lois and Clark, and I couldn't take another role outside of that. But I never really had one of those that got away. Harrison Ford, you know, getting Indiana Jones. Apparently, he wasn't the first choice for that. Somebody else was.
Richard Dreyfuss?
For Indiana Jones. Can you imagine Richard Dreyfuss as Indiana Jones?
Tom Selleck, I can kind of see, but
Tom Selleck. Richard. I mean, I like Richard Dreyfuss.
You're taking the statue back.
That was pretty good. That was great. Yeah.
Toward the back. We've been calling on people toward the front. No, they're not interested. All right, man, hand here. Yes, green.
How was it filming my favorite scene in Rat Race where Amy Smart kind of kicked your, well, you know.
Kick my, yeah. Rat Race. Filming Rat Race was a lot of fun because literally, say I had 100 shots, 95 of them had a helicopter in them. So it was always like, okay, we're going to do this, it'll be fun, okay, and cue the helicopter. I'm always like, geez, that's pretty fun. It'd be a helicopter flying across. It was silly, it was a couple days, it was a lot of fun. It's one of those things, again, you know, if actors do get pigeonholed, and I've never really been pigeonholed, because I'll try kind of anything, and a small role like that, in a funny film, doing that kind of big comedy was fun. And you know, she zipped me, she rolled the window up on me and then sent me flying. It was really fun. I actually fell off the process trailer we were on, and I fell. And I injured myself, but I was okay. But the show was fun, and shooting that was fun, and you see how much fun. It's great to be able to see the different sets, you know. Here's this $50 million movie with helicopters and big stunts and big things and over-the-top funny stuff, and At the end of the day, though, it doesn't matter if it's that or a $20 student movie. You end up with a couple actors and a camera, and that's the amazing thing.
If it's one, he can answer in about 15 seconds.
Sure. Between you and Terry Hatcher, which one of you are more guilty of having that not so fresh breath moment?
I'll be as honest as I could possibly be. It wasn't her because I never noticed anything. So I think we both were pretty clean. I think we were good. I think we were good all the time because it wasn't like it was a surprise. It wasn't like good morning and shoot this love scene. It's like, we knew it was coming. Get ready.
If you didn't get to ask a question or just want to say hi, where are you downstairs? Where's your booth?
I don't know the answer to that
Go
question.
hunting. He's in a...
I'm next to Stan Lee. You know who that guy is, right?
That's not hard to find.
What is it, 621? Thank you.
There we go.
Yes, sir, Darth Vader, because you don't...
Person wants to know, on your Superman costume, why do you keep changing the
They changed the, that's completely beyond my control, Mr. Vader. They'll experiment with the costume for different characters and different people, and that was the producer's choice, wasn't mine.
Okay, questions began and ended with Darth Vader.
Good job, guys. Thank you very much.